Hey guys, today I want to talk to you about some of the properties we've shown you in the recent weeks. Number one, I thought this would be a good thing to do because I currently still have pink eye and I don't want to go on camera, but I am feeling better. And I also have been wanting to show you guys some things based on some of the comments that you left on some of those recent videos. I wanted to talk about our thoughts on some of the properties as well as your thoughts. And then I also want to show you what some of those properties actually sold for because I also thought this would be good to document because maybe in a couple of years we could look back at these properties and see what they are valued at that point because I'm seeing some of them have already increased in value so much, it just blows my mind. And I would like to hear your feedback based on what a property of this sort would go for in your area. I know when I watch shows on HGTV, I am so amazed at how much more expensive properties are in, like, say, California. As we all know, property there is much more expensive than it is basically anywhere else in the US, right? But our property here in Oklahoma is actually very reasonably priced, I see, compared to a lot of other states. So I also am amazed at the cost difference from my part of the state versus Art's part of the state, which, as we've told you before, we're only an hour away from one another. So I also found some blank maps of Oklahoma so that I could kind of show you guys where these properties are located um, in relation to Tulsa, which, as I've told you, I am just north of Tulsa. Art is southeast of Tulsa, which makes him southeast of me as well. So I'm going to show you guys those. We're going to recap the properties that we looked at in our homestead video that we showed you a while back, and then compare those to the property that we actually did purchase, which you guys know by now. We kind of tricked you in that video because I showed you 5 of the properties that we looked at, but I did not include our property because at the time we had not closed on our property and I didn't want to give anything away or cause um, anything that could have, like, messed up our purchase of the property. You know what I mean? So anyway, let's dive into this. I'm super excited as I was looking up the 5 properties that we did discuss and looking at prices for what they sold for and everything. I'm just still even more ecstatic about what we actually wound up with and the price that we paid for it. So I think you guys will be blown away by some of these prices. But yet again, I still want to hear from you what a similar property in your area would go for. And let me know what state you're in. I know a lot of you I interact with quite often, and you have your own channels, and I watch those, but I can't remember exactly where a lot of you are. I know most of you that have homesteads of your own, it seems like most of you are in the South somewhere, and probably more southeast than us. But I can't ever remember exactly where you're at. I know some of you are like in Indiana, Georgia, Alabama, somewhere in those areas. So just let me know when you do make comments where you're commenting from if you talk about pricing, because I think this would be cool to document, just like I said, so we can look back again in future years and compare these prices, because we all know 10 years from now these prices are going to seem so cheap because things just keep going up, 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 right? Okay, so the first thing I want to do is tell you, so we did cover 5 properties in our original Homestead Search video, right? But if you remember, about a week before that, I did share with you a video of my favorite property. And now, of course, you know that the reason why I shared that with you is because at that point, I already knew we were getting ready to close on our homestead property. And so obviously, I'm not going to get to build that brand new property like I had always dreamed of. So that's why I wanted to go ahead and share those floor plans and everything. And hopefully, I still hope somebody out there can build that house one of these days and let me see what it looks like, because I still think that floor plan is amazing. But now you know that we do have an existing house that we are going to renovate, but obviously it is laid out nothing like my dream property. So I'm going to turn it into my dream property, but I've got to work within the walls that are already there, right? So today we're going to talk about those 5 from the homestead video. We're going to talk about our property that we wound up with. So that's 6, right? And then if you guys remember, on the day that we closed on our property, we did show you a 7th property because it's down the road from the house that we actually bought, from the property we bought. And we mentioned it to you and told you that it sold for double what we paid. So I'm going to throw that in here today as well and tell you a little bit more about it and what it sold for, because it was double. So so where are we? That's 7 properties. And then of course the property that I just mentioned, my dream property. Remember in that video I told you I was combining 2 different floor plans, right? So that is actually 9 different properties. But I looked them all back up on Zillow and I found what each one of them sold for. So, and the date that they sold as well. And I even saw for some of those that sold back in 2022, I saw on the Zestimate on there what they are valued at now, according to Zillow, of course. But it's pretty fascinating how much some of them have gone up in value. So I thought that would be cool to document on here for today, so that maybe a year or 2 years from now, I can't talk, a year or 2 years from now, we could look back at these and laugh at the prices, right? Okay, I went through and made some notes about each property, but then I also found on Zillow where it had information about each property. So I want to include that as well. So first of all, let me go to that first, well, okay. The first one I want to cover is actually property number 7, I guess you could say. That's the one that is right down the road from us that we didn't include in any of the video. Well, I take that back. We included it in that one video when we were driving and we pointed it out to you guys. So let me find that. Okay, here is what Zillow says about it, or said about it. Move-in ready, this beautifully updated 3-bedroom, 2-bath brick home offers modern living with timeless charm, built in 1974. A step-down formal dining room provides a perfect space for entertaining. Adjacent to the home is a fantastic 1,500 square foot shop equipped with 2 oversized garage doors and automatic openers. It's the ideal space for car restoration, woodworking, or any creative hobby, with ample room for tools, blah, blah, blah. The property's 2.89 acres are equally impressive, offering a level, beautifully maintained lawn with mature trees. The property also includes an 18 by 20 carport, a partially fenced backyard, and the added safety of an underground storm cellar. Okay, so anyway, you get all of that. So 1,500 square foot shop. The house was built in 1974. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. It does not have an attached garage. It's on 2.89 acres. So let me go to the notes that I had made. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so when we looked at it, the asking price was $230,000. It was a 20-minute drive for Art, back to work, that is. And that property sold in January of 2024 for $212,500. So remember, that's a 3-bed, 2-bath, no attached garage, but a 1,500 square foot shop, less than 3 acres. And it was built in 1974. The house was 1,400 square foot, I think, something like that. Anyway, okay, so that's that one, right? The next property we're going to talk about is the one, actually 2 properties that we're going to talk about are the ones that I covered in my dream house floor plan that I shared with you. Sorry, I'm still losing my voice. Okay, so I'm going to read the description of the first house, the one that had the dream kitchen in it, the one that I kind of stole some ideas from. So, and then I combined that with the old school house, of course. So that first house, it sold in August of 2022, but here is the description for that on Zillow. It says gorgeous farmhouse with 4 beds, 2 full baths, plus office study, open split plan, 3-car garage, wood floors, living area with beamed ceiling, glass glass gas log fireplace, built-ins, island kitchen with an abundance of storage, brick accents, butler's pantry, spacious dining area, huge walk-in pantry, primary suite with tray ceiling, walk-in seasonal closet, private bath with double sinks, tiled separate shower and soaking tub, granite and quartz countertops, covered porch, and large covered patio. So that, now I do want to say too that I've mentioned to you guys that out here in my area, properties are a whole lot more expensive than they are when we get out toward Art's area. So that was one reason why we chose to look out closer to where he works, because of the affordability of that area. So for that first property, it sold again in August of 2022. Oh, where did my price go? Here it is. It sold for $415,000, and that was on a half acre. Okay. Now, when I go look at the Bora Bora 2 properties from Old School, they are building those out on half acre to 1 acre lots right now. And in this area, those are selling for up to about 100, sorry. Those are selling right now for up to about $450,000, depending on the finishings that you choose, of course. But again, that's for the Bora Bora 2, and I'll include a link to Old School's website in my description if you are curious about that, because like I said, I would love for somebody to build one of these houses just so I can look at it. I just want to see it if you take my suggestions of how you could rearrange that kitchen and get the best of both of those 2 floor plans. I just, that other house that wasn't an Old School house, the one that I just quoted that sold for 415,000, I just loved the way that it had that inset appliance area. You know, I kept calling it an appliance garage, but it's not really a garage. It's just like a whole area, and it just kind of sets back. I just loved that. I would give anything to try to work that into my kitchen somehow. But anyway, let's go on to the next property. Okay, next property is, we'll call it the Kimberly Drive property because that was the name of the road that it was on, but that is a block away from the golf course and country club that Art works for, and that was the appeal of that one. It did sell on December 31st of 2024. So it was originally listed for $230,000. Now that was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home with a 2-car garage, 1,825 square foot, and you know, it was just a small suburban lot. It was a nice size for a suburban lot, but it was definitely not the land that we were looking for, of course. But it did back to a wooded lot, and that is priced low for the area, but it was also very outdated, so it needed quite a bit of updating as well. Drum roll for this price. What do you guys think? How much do you think it sold for? It sold for $200,000 even, which that's a pretty good price for that house in that neighborhood. That's a pretty good price. I think whoever bought it, I hope they're planning to renovate and fix it up, because it really would retain some value if somebody put a little bit of money into that, because some of those houses in the neighborhood were really going for a lot more than that. And there's some gorgeous houses in that neighborhood because it's on the golf course. So anyway, so that's that. Now let's go on to property number 2. Oh, also let me say about that one. Oh, by the way, I'm saying property number 1 and property number 2 because that was property number 1 from our homestead video. But of course, this is like the 4th property we're talking about right now because I did those others first. But anyway, it's the first property from the homestead video. Okay. So that property though, property number 1, Oh, I did say that. It's like a block from Art's work. So take him like 30 seconds to get to work from there, basically. Okay, so property number two is the Inola property. Now, that's the one that would have been a longer drive for Art. And again, we did look at that back in 2022 when I was still working full time. And this was also when Art's youngest son had, him and his wife had not bought their house yet. They have a house now. So, but at that time, we were thinking of trying to convince them to go in on a property with us. So, that Inola property, some things that I did not mention in the video was that that was, it was a really cool house, guys, but there were 4 bedrooms and 2 baths upstairs, and then there was um a bedroom and a bathroom downstairs, and then it had a tandem garage. What I mean by that is it looks like a one-car garage, but it was 2 cars deep, and it had garage door openers on both sides so that you could just pull right on through, right? So it was a 2-car garage, although it looked like a one-car garage. You hear what I'm saying, right? Okay, so also when I did that original video, I did not tell you guys exactly how much land it was on because I knew we had already mentioned in a previous live stream that the property we were looking at was on 10 acres. So I was trying to not give it away before too soon. I wasn't trying to make, I was trying to make it not too easy for you guys to guess which property. But I did actually know exactly how much land each of these were on. So I'm going to tell you that today. So that Inola property was on 7.5 wooded acres, right? Okay, so the reason why we even contemplated that at all was because we thought we could get Artie and Taylor to go in on that property with us. We didn't really think we could get them to, but they were the ones that were in um, they were looking for a property at that time, so that was why it could have possibly worked. But I knew we'd never get them to move that far away because it was a 45-minute drive back to their hometown. So anyway, five bedrooms, 3 baths, 2-car tandem garage. It also had the shipping containers that were stacked in the back for future build out, lots of outdoor amenities, but it was also the highest priced property. Now, not as highly priced as the new builds that are out here in Owasso, of course, but of the other properties, it was the highest priced one. So, what do you think that one sold for?
Okay, so this is the Inola property that is on 7.5 acres. This is just kind of looking at the surroundings, and of course, the Google map doesn't take you down this driveway so that you can see the property, but basically, the road winds down and back around and into the center of these 7.5 acres. Let me see if it'll let me go down this road. Oh, okay, good. Because you can kind of see, if we go down this road and we look over here to the right, you can kind of see where the driveway goes. Oh man, the road doesn't go any further. Okay, well, you can at least see how the driveway goes down and it winds back, and then kind of in between where you see this grassy area, where in between the street that we're on and the driveway over there to the right, as that driveway continues to wind back, that's where those storage containers are on the left side of the driveway, just behind these trees that you see right here. So the storage containers, there were like 2 or 3 of them stacked so that you could like create something out of that. So back when we were looking at this, we were talking about like making it an Airbnb or something like that. But anyway, so this property, I'm looking up the prices for all of the properties, trying to show you what they each sold for, just so you can see the comparison.
That again was the Inola property. That was the really modern looking one. And it sold on January 11th, 2023 for $350,000. Okay, let's go on to property number 3. This was the very large property that I had mentioned was very close by one of Art's daughters. Okay, so this property on the listing on Zillow, it said, come see this custom built home sitting on just under 13 acres. Are you looking for a large home with a shop to work from? The shop has heat and air, alarm system, bathroom, and a kitchenette area, not to mention the massive three-car garage attached to the home. The home features an oversized laundry room, upstairs second living room, game room, built-in office, desk upstairs, and so much more. Now let me go to the notes that I made about the property. Okay, so for this one, it was a 30-minute commute for art, 45 minutes back to my hometown. It was way too big of a house for us. Oh man, let me go back. What was the square footage on that one? Let me try to find it really quick. Okay, the square footage of that house, according to Zillow, it says 4 bedroom, 5 bath, 4,362 square foot. Crazy. Now you can see why we did not need that big of a house, right? Now let's talk about the Pecan Grove property. That one we really truly loved, and I can imagine we're going to be keeping our eyes on that property for years to see what they do with it. We have driven past it once since then just to see, and so far they haven't done anything with it. So I'm hoping that they will eventually, because it really is a beautiful property. But I did mention that it is in a very bad flood zone, so I know that they were going to have to build up a pad to actually build a house there. So that was going to take some time, of course. But um, that property was located in Coweta. It would have been about a 30-minute commute both ways, 30 minutes back to my hometown, 30 minutes to Art's hometown. Um, it was covered in pecan trees, so there is instant income potential there. But of course, there were no home or utilities, so that had to be considered. And it was 7.55 acres, so about the same amount of acreage as that one in Inola with the modern house on it. It sold for $108,000 on April 6th of 2023. That is a great price. It's the lowest price out of all of them, but of course, it did not have a home on the property. Now, our house that we just bought, or our property that we just bought, let's keep in mind it's 10 acres. That one, the Pecan Grove, was 7.55. Our property has two structures on it. So even though we have to renovate those, and that's going to take a lot of money and everything, this one we would have still had to bring the utilities to the property and all of that stuff, so I think we did pretty good considering that this one is 2.5 acres less than what we got, and there's no structure on it, right? And that would have been a 30-minute commute for Art, and where we're at is about a 20-minute commute. So pretty good. Okay, guys, last but not least is the fifth property that we covered in the homestead video, but it is the log cabin looking one. It was in Fort Gibson. It is actually still on the market. They have now lowered the price to $239. I still think that's way overvalued for what that property is, because, like we mentioned, it is covered in mold. It's going to have to be gutted and completely remediated. Is that the word? Whatever. I've been up for way too long. Anyway, let me read to you what the description on Zillow says. It says, "The quiet rolling hills of Oklahoma can be yours. Country living with beautiful views. Home with 3 bedrooms and an office, 2 full baths on 1.8 acres, original wood floors and car siding wood ceiling in the open living space of living room, kitchen, and dining room. Quality double hung wood windows and living room wood burning fireplace insert. Outdoor area off dining room has cement patio and stone retaining wall with a natural backdrop of mature trees. 2-car garage with opener. New construction in the area. Fort Gibson schools and major shopping. Home being sold as is. Home is handicapped accessible. Natural gas for heating and hot water." Okay, so let me go to my notes that I had made. Okay, so some of the downsides of that property would have been that we would have had to have crossed a long, scary bridge over the lake which was a major downside for me. And then I did put beautiful property and very remote, but little less than 3 acres. Actually, what's funny about that is that when I went back and looked, I thought it was like just under 3 acres, but apparently it was actually only 1.8 acres. So that's even lower than I thought. Not much backyard. Most of the property was in the front, and Art wasn't sure how he felt about that. And then once we got inside, we realized it was going to need a complete gut job, covered in mold and signs of leaks all over the place, asking way more than it was worth, especially given the amount of work needed to restore the property. Once we got inside, we realized there was just no way. Okay, so the other notes I made on here is 1.86 acre lot. It was built in 1991, 3 bedroom, 2 bath, 2 car garage, plus an office, 2,127 square foot. And of course, like I said, it's still for sale for $239,000. The original asking price was like 259, I think, or something like that. Anyway, like we had mentioned, I think that property is now owned by the um, children of the original owner, and I think they live out of state, and I just don't think they've seen the condition that the property's in. I think that's why it's been on the market for so long. They're just not dropping the price low enough because they don't recognize what bad shape it's in. It has gone pending multiple times, and every single time it falls through. And I think the reason why is because when the banks go to inspect the property, or the person making the offer actually gets in there, they're starting to realize that, whoa, this property is not worth this price. So anyway, it is beautiful. On the outside, it is beautiful. It definitely, you can tell it definitely was a beautiful property at one time, but once you got in there, oh my gosh, I wish I had taken pictures when we got inside. The pictures that Zillow has online just don't, I mean, you can't tell in those pictures how bad it is until you get in there. I'm talking, the floors are warped, the ceilings are warped, everything's warped, it's all covered in mold. You don't see it in the pictures until you get in there, but it is in bad shape. So anyway, that is the end of this recap through all of the properties. But really seriously, what I want to know from you guys is what these properties would actually go for in your area. So that's what I want to compare. And then maybe in a couple of years, we'll reevaluate these properties and see what people have done with them over the years, because most of them needed work. And so I'm excited just to document this so that Art and I can follow back up on these later and just see what has become of them. So isn't that great? That's what YouTube is great for, I think, is just documenting things and being able to look back at them later. So let me know your thoughts, and remember to go the second mile today for someone in your life and with your resources.